Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Mark, a trainer here at WEX Field Service Management, and today we are covering mobile app basics. This webinar will cover how to download the mobile app. We'll do a mobile app overview, how to search for customers, how to run through a job in the field, creating invoices and taking payment, and then we'll finish off with the More tab, the Settings tab, and a live Q&A at the end where you can get your questions answered live on stream. Without further ado, let's start with downloading the mobile app. On your device, you will go to whichever app store you have that you normally would download your apps from, and you're searching for WEX Field Service Management if you haven't done so already, and you will download the app. Now, once you download the app, you will need your email and password that was set up for your user account to log in. But once you log in, you will be able to have access to the app and start using it out in the field. I'm going to quickly show you this is just a pro tip. So the WEX FSM mobile app has a map and a way to track your location services. And that way the office can always see where technicians are out in the field. And if your location services on your device when you're out in the field is turned off, that feature will not work. So if you want the GPS tracking to work, you'll want to make sure that you turn on location services for the WEX FSM app. Typically, when you download it, it will prompt you and ask you anyway if you would like this app to see your location. If that's something that you want, then you'll want to set that. That will be per device, but we do have a helpful article if that is something you're not sure how to set the settings on. Go to the Help Center in the bottom right, and then you can search for location services. How to enable location tracking on your mobile device is the article you want to look at, and this kind of talks about how to do it on different devices. But as long as you have location services on, I would recommend having it track all the time rather than when the app is open. That way you can start driving to the job, or your technicians can drive to the job, and it will still track where they're going while the device is asleep. All right. So next, let's dive into the app itself. Starting at the very top, when you log in, you will be on the jobs page. And actually, if you look in the bottom left, you'll see the jobs tab is highlighted in red. And this is where you will see your daily time clock. So if you look in the very top right, there is a clock in button. And there are two time clocks in WEX FSM. There's the daily time clock that will track your entire day. And then there is a job time clock for each of the jobs that you will do. For daily time clock, you start your day, you will tap clock in. That will start the time clock. Typically, you have that run in the background. Then when it's time to go to lunch, you would clock out. Come back from lunch, clock back in. And then at the end of the day, your shift is over, you will clock out. And that will track all of those timestamps throughout the day. And the office will be able to see those timestamps for payroll. Just under that, we have a date selector. We can see today is April 1st. And I did that a little fast. So if I'm holding my device, I'll just tap on this arrow next to the date, and that will pull up my date selector. And I can quickly go forward or backwards through my calendar to determine which day I want to take a look at. Now, this is permission based, so you can set it to where technicians will see only what you want them to see. But based on what my permissions are set for me, if I'm a technician, I will be able to search through my calendar from here. You do have a quick access button here on the side. These arrows, as I tap them, will just take you one day at a time through your schedule. They're pretty light, gray, but they are there. So if you tap those arrows, you just move through your calendar day by day. If we see, you're going to see my appointments, and you will see your appointments that have been assigned to you. I see I've got a job for Justin at 8 a.m., Emily at 9, and Mary at 11. Now, these will give you a little bit of information. I can see the job number, the job name. This is a no AC call. This is an install. This is a maintenance. And we've got some quick action buttons. So these blue buttons here will allow me to call the customer. If I tap on the little phone, as long as your device has a way to call out, you will see that I can select the numbers. Then two-way texting. If you have two-way texting as part of your subscription, you'll be able to tap the message bubble and send a text message to that customer. And this icon, this is a GPS icon. So if I click on this, it would take whatever GPS application on your device, open that, and then use that to give you GPS directions out to the job. Now, what you're seeing here under My Appointments are going to be what has been assigned to you, but there's also a work queue. And if you notice, the work queue is at the bottom. If I tap on work queue, this will show me draft jobs. They're not quite ready to be put on the schedule yet, and these are just sitting and waiting here for more information. Service request means there's no date, no time, no technician. We may have some notes on there. You may, know it's a no AC call. This is a maintenance job. This is install. So there's different pieces of information you'll see. But if you want to assign these, you would just tap on the service request and then choose a technician. And then you will also want to choose, in this scenario, a date, a time, and now we have a technician. When you click save, it will pull that out of the work queue and add it to whoever you assigned it to. But let's dive into actually working on my appointments. So I have my customer Justin here. It's, 8 a.m. It's time to go out and do this job. So I will tap on that appointment. And that brings us to the job page for this appointment. Now, if you notice, there's another time clock here. This is the job time clock. So the daily time clock is still running in the background at this point usually, but then we want to track the exact time for this job. So currently it says idle, and then that will change to en route. And now that means I'm on the way to the job. I'm driving out to the job. I get there. When you get there, you've got this nice big Google image of the location, so you can check to make sure that you're in the right spot. And then you've got customer details underneath that. If I need to edit or update any info about the customer or about this appointment, I would tap on that. From here, you are able to update information about this appointment. Let's say I wanted to change the job type. I could do that from here. I could rename the job. And then if you scroll down, you can see there are appointment tags. You can add notes to the job if you want from here. You'll see the the initial appointment note here. And that just gives you access to the appointment information, the appointment details. Now, scroll down. This is very nice and simple, all laid out in a line here for us. These are tools that we can use on the job to help us do certain tasks. Attachments will allow you to attach items. You can upload items from your device. You can even just take a picture directly from the app and it will upload that to this job. Calls and notes will be any notes that have been added. And if you see a little yellow bell right here, that means that there is a belled note. Belled notes, you can create a note, you can add a bell to it, and that will then attach to all jobs for this customer. Belled notes are great to keep pieces of information like gate codes, filter sizes. Do they have pets you need to worry about? So I always like to check if there's a belled note, you probably want to look at it because it's going to have pertinent information that you need to know anytime you go to that location. If you're using checklists, you'll find that in the checklist section. Contacts are going to be anyone that you would want to reach out to or send a notification to for this appointment. Customer history comes in very handy. This is going to show you everything you've ever done at this location prior to today. So maybe you want to come in here and just spot check who was the last technician that came here? What did they do? What did they service? What expectations does this customer have? Are there any notes in here that's going to tell me something that, I may need to know before I go in? So you can kind of prep yourself, get some knowledge here in the history before going in and speaking with the customer. And then let's say I get there and now I want to say I'm at the job doing the work. I'm going to notify the office that I'm here and I'm going to start working on this job. I will change the job time clock from en route to at job. Now in the office, that will change visually. That will show the office that I am here at the job. So let's say I go in, I communicate with the customer, I do the job. Now I need to go back to the truck, create my invoice, show it to the customer, and then take payment to finish out this job so I can move on to my next one. To do this, I will go to invoices and then tap new to create a new invoice. Now, you can save yourself some time by using the copy feature. Let's just see an example of what that looks like. Copy from existing will pull up all of my previous invoices that I've made. And if I have favorited an invoice, that means it'll pull up first. So my favorites are here. If I'm doing a general service call and I know that I just did a general service call a couple days ago, I can just select that. It'll pull all the information from that previous invoice, add the new customer information. It becomes unique for that new customer, and then I can edit and update as needed. But it saved me some time from having to pull items and build a invoice from scratch. If you don't see it here in favorites, but maybe you did an invoice yesterday you want to use, uncheck favorites by tapping that heart favorite icon. And then this will be every invoice in your entire system. It is easier to use favorites, so you'll want to favorite your invoices that oh, I do this type of job all the time. I'm going to want to copy this in the future. I would favorite it. So it shows up here when you use the copy feature. We're going to tap back in the top left. And for today's example, let's build an invoice from scratch. To do this, we'll tap on New and New Invoice. When you're on the invoice, if you do want to change the settings of this invoice, you can tap in the customer name area, and that will bring you to the invoice details page. From here, this is where you can name the invoice. Let's say this is, a no AC invoice. Uh, Mark it as favorite. So we just talked about that. This is where you can actually toggle on that favorite. Choose the technician if you want to give credit to someone or, credit yourself for making this invoice. You can tag yourself as technician. You can set the due dates, and then you can also set the pricing strategy. And so right here, if I tap pricing strategy, every invoice you create will start as standard price. If your customer is a maintenance plan customer, it'll automatically switch them to the maintenance plan pricing. You don't have to think about it, it'll just happen. And then if you have your modifiers set up in your pricing defaults, you'll see those here. I have a friends and family discount, a military discount, and then a after hours pricing, which will actually increase my invoice total by 25%. But that is where you change the pricing strategy. Any changes you make on this, you'll want to make sure you hit save in the top left. All right. And so now let's get into the bread and butter of building the invoice, and that is accessing my price book and pulling items from my price book so I can charge the customer. To do this, we will tap Add Items on the right here. And what you're going to see when you click Add Items, you have different buckets or different tabs. Price book is your integrated WEX FSM price book. That is something that either you have built out yourself or someone from the office has built that for you. And that is done from the desktop side. But we can look through all of those folders from here. You have flat rate, which is going to be the Profit Rhino flat rate pricing. And this is a add-on subscription. So some customers have this, some don't. If you do use the flat rate pricing, this is really nice. Each of these tabs here are full catalogs of flat rate pricing per industry. And if you're syncing to QuickBooks, if you have a QuickBooks item list that you use, this is where you would find that. It'll be a one-to-one comparison of what of what is in your system in your QuickBooks will show up here. Now, what's really nice about this is I can peruse through my price book and select multiple items at a time, and the items will begin to add in the order I select them in a queue in the bottom here. So if I want to search for an item, I can use the search bar. That is if I know exactly what I'm looking for. Let's say I want a general part. Here we go. It pulled up the general part. And now we will say, this is the one I want, and click add. If you notice, the number in the bottom has updated to 1, and the price of that item is here. Let's say I am not really sure or I don't know the exact wording of the item. I can just search through my folders. So let's go to General, Service, and let's do General Labor and Add. Now, if you are tapping on the item itself, that allows you to view the description and see all the info. That's what I've done so far. You can also just click the plus sign here. You don't have to look into what the item is. And let's say that I know I worked 2 hours of labor, so I'm going to add a quantity of two for the labor item. And do this for anything that you need. Let's say I also need a filter. You'll know better than anyone what you want to add for this job, but once you have everything added, you can tap Add. Those will add to the invoice. I can tap my finger and drag these around to put them in a different order. If I tap on the item, it will allow me to update the price, the quantity. Do I want to charge taxes, the description? And let's say one of these items I want to add as a recommended item. We're not charging the customer for this yet. I haven't shown this to them, but when I present the invoice, I will say, "Hey, I noticed that we could do a filter change for you. That'll be, just under 20 bucks and, XYZ." Customer says yes. But you want to show that as a recommended item. So take your finger, you'll slide your finger to the right and tap recommend. Now that has pulled it out, it's taken it out of the total that you're charging and put it as a recommended item. Any notes that you want the customer to see, you'll put here, maybe a thanks for your business. And then when you're ready, you'll tap present invoice. This will put it into a presentation mode that is nice and clean for your customer to see. And if you're standing in front of your customer, you can flip your device around and say, "Here's what we did today. Your total is 718.58. And, if you want to do that filter change, just say the word." Let's say they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." You can tap the plus sign on the left here, and that will add it from recommended to the product section. And now it's included in the price that they're paying. Down below, you will have a section where you can grab a signature from your customer. And then you have a couple options here. You can process payment, record payment, or view PDF and send. Process payment will process through WEX FSM and send the money to your bank account. Record payment is if you're processing outside of WEX FSM. Good scenario, someone hands you cash. You'll still need to take that cash to the bank, but I want to record now in the moment that I've taken payment. So that is where you would use record payment. And then view PDF is nice. That will allow you to see this in a PDF format. Some customers prefer to show their customers the PDF version because it looks a little more traditional as an invoice. But this is up to you. This will simply open the PDF in a web browser. But if you want to go back to the app, you will need to tap back in. And this is personal preference. Maybe you want to show them this and not go out to the PDF. But if you do, you just tap View PDF, show them, and then when they're ready, you'll just go back into the app to take payment. Let's do that an example. Oh, wait. Send invoice will allow you to send the invoice to the customer and they can make payment online wherever they are. And that is the same as process payment. It will send the money to your bank account from wherever the customer is paying from. For today's example, let's record a payment. So we're going to tap record payment. This part's pretty easy. It's going to pull up all of the invoices for this customer. It will pre-select the invoice that we are currently on, so it already knows we want to pay for this one. And then we're just going to confirm, is this the correct total? Let's hit next. Choose a payment type. Let's say they paid with a check today. Enter in that check number and hit record payment. You will see your payment has been successfully recorded at the bottom. And now from here, maybe we want to send the invoice to the customer as a receipt. Let's send it as an email to Justin and hit send. Now we'll save the invoice in the top right. And that brings us back to the invoices page. From here, just a pro tip, we do have more sliding actions. If you slide your finger to the right, you can send, view PDF, process, and record payment. Slide it to the left, and you can delete the invoice if you need to. And then if you want to update the status, so right now we just paid for this. We can see that it's paid, and then we can see that it has closed. Anytime you make a payment on an invoice, it's going to close the invoice. Closed invoices you can't make edits on. So if you do, for whatever reason, need to edit your invoice, you will need to tap on closed and set it to open draft. Once you do that, you can edit it, save it, and then you can always come back and change this to signed, to closed, whatever it was previously. All right, so now let's go back to the appointment page. And the final thing that you will do, most likely for each job, we came in, we looked at the info, we did a little research looking at the history, we talked to the customer, made an invoice, or well, did the work, made the invoice, took the payment. Now we're done. We're ready to move on. We want to clock out of this appointment. So we'll tap at job and select complete. Is this appointment complete? Yes. And there we go. So a job well done. Customer's happy. We got paid. So we're happy too. And now we can move on to our next job and go see Emily for an install. So there you have it. That is a basic run through of doing a job. The last things we're going to cover, and actually there is an insane glare on my second monitor right now. We are going to go. I'm just checking my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. Cool. Yep. We're going to finish off with the More tab and the Settings tab. The More tab, if you look at the very bottom, More tab is here, second from the right. And this is where you can view your price book. If you just want to spot check your pricing, tap on Price Book View Only. And now I can look through my price book without having to go to a job, create an invoice, or add items. You can just spot check right from here. Now you can't add these items to an invoice from here. This is just to look, to view. And then you also can see your hours worked. So if you are clocking in and out, tap on this. This will show you a date range and your working hours, your times you've clocked in and out. Settings in the bottom right. This will allow you to change your theme. If you are a dark mode person, then you can turn this on dark mode. It is good for saving battery life. Or match it to your device settings. I typically put it on light mode for these. You can update your password, add a profile picture, and then this is important if, let's say, you're going to an area where you know you don't have service. You already know you're not going to have service when you go out to this location. You can download your price book onto your device. That way, if you lose service, you'll still be able to make an invoice, add items from your price book because it's saved on your device and not needing it from the cloud. And then when you get back into a good service area, you reconnect back to having service on your device. everything that you created when you were, out in the boonies will just sync back up to the cloud and your office will see that. If you are using the card swipers, you will pair your card readers from here. And if you notice the little smiley face guy in the bottom right, that is where you will reach out to customer service. So if you have questions, if you need help in the moment, click on this, contact support. If this little guy is getting in the way and you don't want this, because this will show up everywhere as you're moving through the mobile app. If you don't want this, you can always just toggle that off. Just know that is the way that you would contact customer support and get access to your uh, training materials and things like that. So I do recommend keeping that on. All right. So there you have it. That is all the information that we have for today's presentation. We're going to move to our Q&A now. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining. My name is Mark with WEX Field Service Management, and this has been Mobile App Basics.